Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dietitians Dialogue. My name's Jamie Portnoy, your host. Today we have a very special guest, Denise Nagoti. She's here to discuss all about being an exercise specialist as well as cardiac rehab. Hi, Denise.
Hi.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So, Denise, we want to know a little bit about you before we get into exercise physiology and cardiac rehab. So, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, the best thing about myself right now is that I have a 6-month-old little girl,
Aw,
Emma Grace, and my husband and I are very happy about that.
I'm sure.
And she's doing very well, and she makes us very happy and smile all the time. And
Oh, good.
so
Good.
that's the most thing I'm proud of right now.
You should be very, very proud.
Mm-hmm.
And just give us a little bit about how did you become an exercise physiologist?
Well, I went to school. I have a bachelor's in exercise science with a emphasis in adult fitness and cardiac rehab.
Okay.
And then I have a master's in exercise physiology. And I decided that I wanted to do something in the fitness world, and I was a gymnast growing up and I wanted to be active. So that's how I chose exercise physiology.
Wow. So, what types of jobs are out there to become an exercise physiologist?
I work in cardiac rehab, and you can do personal training, fitness instructor, wellness coach. You can work in cardiology doing stress testing or EKG. So there's a lot of different options.
That does sound like a lot of different options. And one specific that I want to talk about is cardiac rehab. So, how exactly did you get started in cardiac rehab?
Well, after I got my master's, I was looking for a job, and I wanted to do something that was a wide variety of things to do. So my first job after my master's, I worked at a hospital that did exercise testing, stress testing, and EKG and cardiac rehab. So it was a good variety of things to do. And once I decided that I wanted to do cardiac rehab specifically, that's when I looked for a job that was only in cardiac rehab. Cardiac and pulmonary rehab, actually.
Okay, and so cardiac and pulmonary rehab, I want to just really kind of focus on cardiac rehab. Who needs cardiac rehab, and what does cardiac rehab entail? But let's break that down and let us tell us what cardiac rehab is.
Okay, cardiac rehab is an outpatient exercise program where people come and they're hooked up to a heart monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So we can watch their heart rhythm and heart rate. We check their blood pressure. If they're diabetic, we check their blood sugar. So people that would qualify for cardiac rehab would be people that have had a heart attack, a stent, open heart surgery, like coronary bypass,
Sure.
or a valve replacement or repair,
Okay.
and then someone that would have a heart transplant.
So all of these people, post-surgery or post-stent, meaning after they've had all of that, then they would qualify for cardiac rehab.
Correct.
So would they need a prescription for that from a physician or a nurse?
Yep, the way that it works is once we know the patient's interested, we get a referral from their cardiologist.
Okay.
And each program works differently, but the cardiologist usually will pick a target heart rate for the patient, and that's how we prescribe what type of exercise they should do.
And who is exactly involved in the cardiac rehab? Is it a nurse, exercise physiologist? Can you tell us and go into a little bit more detail what the services entail?
Sure. So the cardiac rehab program consists of about 40 minutes of cardiovascular exercise and strength training, so resistance bands or lifting weights and some stretching. The patients also get education lectures every week for half an hour on different topics that relate to risk factors for heart disease, dietitian, anatomy, medications.
Uh-huh.
And then they also get to meet with a dietitian one-on-one.
Sure. That's important.
Very important. And most programs are designed to have a variety of staff. So they can have an exercise physiologist, a registered nurse, always has to be there.
Okay, that's important.
Yep. And some programs have respiratory therapists or physical therapists. So it really depends on the facility.
And speaking of the facility, are they generally in a hospital setting or an outpatient setting? Where exactly are these facilities located?
Well, most cardiac rehab is in a hospital setting. Whether or not they're in the actual hospital, or some are in like a fitness center that's related to the hospital, but it has to be hospital related.
Okay, and how about how many patients are generally in the actual class at a time?
Well, where I work, we have up to 15 people in a class.
Wow, 15 people in one class?
Mhm.
So if you're doing exercise with 15 people, is there someone that's monitoring their heart rate at the same time?
Right, so there's always one person that's watching the heart monitor, so they watch 10 to 15 people's heart monitors.
Uh-huh.
And then there's usually one or two staff members walking around and helping the patients on the floor, taking their blood pressure
And checking their blood sugars and everything else. Wow. So how about then, how long does the program actually run for?
most patients can come for 36 sessions. So they come 3 times a week for 1 hour, and would be about 12 weeks, but it is insurance related, so it depends on their insurance.
So if their insurance does not cover it, do they get any, they have to pay out of pocket?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
And it depends on the facility. So some places have like a monthly fee that they charge, or they get certain benefits, but it is very expensive to pay out of pocket. So hopefully the insurance pays.
So do you highly recommend then cardiac rehab to someone who has had a stent or anything, post-surgical, like open heart surgery, and in the benefits of cardiac rehab?
Right, we highly recommend it, or I highly recommend it, because like I said, they're always monitored, so we have them on a heart monitor. So if their heart rhythm is abnormal, or they have an EKG abnormality or arrhythmia, we can call their physician right away.
Sure.
Or if their blood pressure is too high, or their blood sugar is too high or too low, we have direct access with their physicians. So it's easier for us to get a hold of the physicians than the patients usually.
Sure. And how about, is there a graduation, or is there a, how do they get released from cardiac rehab to go to, exercise, or starting up and going to see a physician, or, even going to see an outpatient dietitian? How does the end of the 36 weeks come into play?
So after their 36 sessions.
Oh, 36 sessions.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's a long time, 36
weeks is a long time.
So 36 sessions, we do graduate them. So we
Okay.
give them a diploma, and we go over like a progress report with them.
Uh-huh.
So we send a progress note to their primary physician and their cardiologist, and we give them guidelines as to how they should exercise when they're done with cardiac rehab. So we promote them to try to go to fitness centers in the area, or park districts, or walk at the mall or outside, or just to get them to do regular activity on their own.
Sure. So kind of, more of a preventative.
Mhm.
And how about also too, if they don't go to, a cardiac rehab, and I know I kind of like said that before, they have to have obviously that prescription, or from the cardiologist. Can people then obviously be cleared for exercise? Is that something that has to be done, or can they just go into a gym and just start exercising?
Well, I mean, an individual can just exercise on their own. I mean, it's the patient's right to do whatever they would like.
Sure.
However, we stress how important it is to do cardiac rehab, so we hope that people would do it.
Sure. So Denise, thanks for all of that wonderful information, and hopefully most of our patients will do all of this preventative stuff so we don't have to end up in cardiac rehab. So we'll watch our nutrition, we'll exercise daily, we'll drink lots of water, and we will do all of this so we don't have to go into cardiac rehab.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you learned on a day-to-day basis from your job, and where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think the most important thing that I learn every day is that I get to meet different people. So I have developed relationships with the patients, and not only do I get to use my education, but it's really important to me to make the patient feel comfortable in the program. So that's really what I take out of it.
Absolutely.
And 5 to 10 years from now, I really love doing community education, so I'd like to get more involved in that, and or like wellness coaching or something like that.
Good. That sounds, great, and thank you very much, and enjoy your little baby.
Yeah.